Hey, here we're going to talk about solving equations and solving inequalities and how we can use Desmos as a tool to help us do that if for some reason we forget how to do those things on our own by hand. So if we look here, this little picture is showing us how we can solve 4x minus 3 equals 10x plus 15. So I'm going to type that in here quick. And what it's showing us is that the solution exists at the x-intercept. So when I click on my x-intercept, I get negative 3, 0. No matter where my x-intercept is, the second number is always going to be 0. It's that first number that tells us what our solution is. So our solution to this equation, 4x minus 3 equals 10x plus 15, is negative 3. It's that number that is the x value of our x-intercept. So if you are stuck trying to solve an equation, or if you want to just double check that you've got your solution correct, you can always graph the equation and find the x-intercept, which is usually, if I click off here and I click the line, is going to be gray. You can hover over it or you can click it and you can find out what the answer is. X equals negative 3. And as we've done in the past, what this is trying to show you is that if you have a decimal as an answer, you can always click that fraction button on the left. So if I have negative 1.5, I can always click this little fraction button up here on the left, and it's going to turn my answer into a fraction for me. And we can use that strategy whenever we have a fraction, no matter what we're trying to do to solve or simplify or anything like that. If we have an inequality, we can convert our graph to a graph for a number line. We can write it as a solution in this form by interpreting what we see. So again, we can solve this by putting it into Desmos. And you can type the inequality symbols, or you can go find them down here. They're all right here. You don't have to know their names, less than or greater than, or less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. You just need to copy what you see. And then we're going to go find the solution again is that x-intercept, negative 10. The dashed line is going to tell us that we have no little or equals to sign. So that's why we have just the less than, no little line underneath. If this was solid, we'd put the little line underneath. Our shading is to the left, so our inequality is going to point like an arrow to the left. And that's how we pick our inequality symbol. If we have to match a number line or put this on a number line, the open dot matches with the dashed line. And then we put an arrow in the direction of the shading. So the shading is on the left, so we make our arrow go to the left. Sometimes when we're solving equations, we get answers that don't look like we've done the right thing. Maybe it looks like we've made a mistake. If we have answers where we have two numbers that say they're equal, but we know one is not equal to 2, that's because there's not a solution to the equation we were trying to solve. So this person was trying to solve an equation. They got 1 equals 2. Those two numbers do not equal each other. This isn't a trick. This just means that there are no solutions to the equation. If we would have gotten an answer like 1 equals 1, and we know that 1 equals 1 and 1 always equals 1, then we would say there are infinitely many solutions. So these are just a couple like unique scenarios where if we're solving an equation, we have special answers. So let me do a couple of these. These might look complicated to solve by hand, but we can always use this Desmos as a tool. We would just type in the equation. Oops. And I would give you the advice of always double checking that you've typed the equation or inequality incorrectly. It's very easy to make mistakes typing these things in as I just did. We want to write the inequality statement. So we want to write something that looks like this. We're going to go find our x-intercept, -9. So the number that's going to be on the right is -9. Oops. I'm going to type it here. And we're going to have an x because that's the variable we are using. Our shading goes to the right of this dot. So we are going to have an inequality that goes to the right. So it's going to look like that. Let me try that again. I'm writing with my mouse, so it's a little tricky. And then because this is a dashed line, there is going to be no or equals to. So there's no little line underneath there. That's just the inequality I want. That is my answer. It might be a little tricky that this inequality symbol went the other way at the beginning, and there are reasons for that we don't need to worry about right now. Just trust the graph. As long as you type this in there correctly, you can trust the graph and know that my arrow should point to the right, and that's my answer. Here we would be picking what we would put onto this number lines. But again, we can type this into Desmos, and we're going to double check and make sure that we type it in correctly. Type it exactly the way you see it. Double check, triple check that you've done it correctly. We have a dashed line, so that means we're going to need an open circle. So we're going to cross out these two options that have a closed circle. Our shading is to the left of our intercept, so that means our arrow needs to point to the left. So in the SOL program, we would choose this option, open circle because of the dashed line, arrow to the left because that's where the shading is, and we would drag it up here to -4 where our intercept is. So we drag it up here, our open circle would land there, and our arrow would go to the left, and that would be our solution. If we wanted to write the inequality statement, we would say x, and then we would have our inequality pointing to the left, and then -4. Again, we have another one similar. Is that the same one? This is the same one as before. So we know that that answer is x is greater than -9. This is just an example of a different way that they might ask you to put your answer in. So you would type x, you would choose the greater than symbol or the symbol that points in the correct direction, and then -9. This here is an example of where we have to write an inequality. And so we can interpret each of these sentences. So this person, Frank, is earning $7.50 per hour. Remember, whenever we see per, that means to multiply by a variable. So we would have 750 or 7.5 x. X would be the hours he works during the day. He also makes this amount of money, $12.50 per. That means we're going to multiply it by a variable per hour when he works at night. Day and night are not the same thing, so we're going to call that Y. And then he wants to earn at least $300 per week. So at least means we are going to use the greater than or equal to symbol. So he wants to make $300 or more. And so this would be where we can type our equation in. and see which picture matches. It's going to be C or D because the shading is on top. And it looks like it is C based on where it crosses the Y and X axis. If these word problems you know are something that are very difficult for you, this is something that you could consider a hard question, and you could come back to it at the end of the test and see if you can figure it out. You should never spend more than a few minutes trying to figure out a question that you don't think you can get the answer correct to. You should always do the easier ones first. So now I want you to walk away from this video, use the strategies and answer the following questions. And then there'll be one more video that you should do in this lesson. So once you're done answering these questions and checking your answers on the answer sheet, asking for help when you need it, go ahead and watch the next video.